So should India have a policy for population control? And if so, what should that policy be? Remember, even amongst the Muslim community, the fertility rate has been coming down. India is now at a stage where its population is just around the replacement rate, so it isn't burgeoning like it did in the post-independence era. But given just the sheer number of people in India, given that India will soon be the world's most populated country, is there then a need for a policy on population control? Should we, for example, restrict the number of children to 2? The fact also is that most people are now having less than 2 children. So, to look at the different dimensions of this population debate, I'm joined on this broadcast by Poonam Muthreja, Executive Director of the Population Foundation of India, tracks this very intensively throughout her working career. We've got Manu Gaur, Population Control Policy Expert. We've got Waris Pathan, spokesperson of the AIMIM, and we've got S.Y. Qureshi joining us, former Chief Election Commissioner and author of The Population Myth. So I want to go across to Poonam Muthreja first. The RSS chief's comments on Vijay Dashmi lighting a new political fire around the issue of a policy on population control. While it is factually true that India's population is not running away in the way that it did earlier, we still are building up to have the world's largest population. And therefore, this is one of our biggest problems and biggest challenges. Should there, in your view, be a definite policy mandated by the central government applicable for all citizens on population control?
You know, Rahul, we already have a population policy in India, and I must say and compliment the government that it's an excellent policy. It was made in 2002 and it is still applicable, and in the meantime, over the last 15 years and especially the last 6-7 years, we have seen a huge improvement in the way we run our population programs, which has brought down fertility dramatically. And the programs have focused on high focus districts, 140 high focus districts. A 5-year program has shown huge results. So the government knows what to do. By government, I'm referring to the bureaucracy, and NGOs like us don't always praise the bureaucracy, but on population stabilization, full marks to Indian bureaucracy at the national level, the Ministry of Health and Family Welfare, as well as at the state level. So when we have a good population policy, what we need is improvements. We need to keep making it.
Manu Gaur, Poonam Muthreja making the argument you don't need a new policy, you need to improve the policy. The RSS chief seems to have been asking for something more, a definite cap that you can't have, for example, more than 2 children. If you do, you run afoul, and then there are very serious civil and criminal consequences of that. China has had that policy. It worked for them. Now they're looking at the ramifications of a one-child policy. Do you think India too needs a cap on the number of children you can have? And if there is to be a policy, what should it be?
Rahul, I want to refer one data. In 2000, the population of India reached to 1 billion. And after 22 years passed, the present population of India is about 1.42 billion. It means the average annual increase of about 20 million per annum. Yet, as per present birth rate and death rate, nearly 25 million kids take birth every year, and 10 million deaths take place every year. It means the annual growth of population would be nearly 15 million. This shows the data on which we are depending is not correct. We have the latest data of our population is the census of 2011. According to the 2011 census, there were nearly 34 crores married women in India. At that time, among them, nearly 18 crores have 2 or less than 2 kids, and nearly 15.75 crores married women have 3 or more than 3 kids. Those all 15.75 crores married women who have 3 or more than 3 kids were not from any particular community, caste, religion. The data on which we are depending, that we have dropped down this TFR of our country is not correct, because the data on which we are depending is we are depending on data of 2.1 as per the NHFS 5 survey. That is just a sample survey of nearly 7 lakhs households. The actual figure of our population is the latest data we have is the census report of 2011. अब हमें नए रिपोर्ट के बारे में तब पता लगेगा जब 2021 का सेंसस जो होना था, जो अभी नहीं हुआ, जब उसकी रिपोर्ट आएगी.
Okay, S.Y. Qureshi, you've written a book on the population myth. You are part of the group of Muslim intellectuals who met RSS Chief Mohan Bhagwat ji recently. Bhagwat ji calling for a cap on population and a policy for population control. Do you think there should be a limit on the number of children, women, like families can have?
No, not at all. In fact, I would like to say, I saw that speech. I didn't hear him, but I saw the speech, and I briefly heard Poonam Mukherjee, if that was her voice. Actually, we don't need any new policy. Our population policy of 2000, which came in Mr. Vajpayee's time, is a brilliant policy. And Mr. Bhagwat's speech sounded very well informed, because he mentioned that we have already reached the replacement rate. He was using the right figures. If we have already reached the replacement rate, where is the panic? So all that has happened is that what was sought to be achieved by 2011 has happened a few years later, but it has happened already. Now, and things will only improve from here further, because the fact is that although 52% of Muslims still don't do family planning, they're doing it very fast, they're catching up faster. The gap between Hindus and Muslims, which was 1.1 TFR, 1.1 child, the gap between Hindus and Muslims has come down to 0.3. Why has the gap reduced? Because Muslims are adopting family planning faster. So one concern should be out of the way. Now, there is a huge unmet need of the Muslim. The largest unmet need is the Muslim. About 12% Muslim are anxious to do family planning, but services are not reaching them. Why? They don't want to go to mini Pakistan. The doctors don't want to go. Give them those services, and the Muslim figures will shoot up. So actually, Mr. Bhagwat used the figures which were very encouraging. He even referred to China. China used to be a role model for some of these people. Right now, have a one-child norm and just see what happened. Now, same China abandoned one-child norm in 2016. They went to two-child norm, and they abandoned that in 2019. Now the three-child.
No, but they've managed to bring their population under control. If they hadn't done, of course, having a one-child norm, Mr. Qureshi, has had some fallout, but they've been able to arrest their population growth and make their population much more manageable than India's at this moment.
No. At the same time, at what cost? At what cost? Because now they have 70% old people who are unproductive. That is when they change the policy, whereas we have achieved the same thing in a very persuasive manner. Already we have reached the replacement level. From now on, after 15-20 years, the population will only start going down. So that is something which we need to understand.
Varis Pathan, someone like S.Y. Qureshi calls Bhagwat ji's comments balanced. The AIMM seems particularly upset. He didn't mention any particular religion or community. Why then is Mr. Owaisi and the AIMM so upset?
Well, in August 2016, Mohan Bhagwat made a statement which law says that the population of Hindus should not rise. What is stopping them when the population of others is rising? 2016. Then Mohan Bhagwat says the DNA of Hindus and the Muslims are the same. Then he comes before the nation and he says that the because of the population increase, there is a demographic imbalance which is taking place in the country. So we all know whom he is targeting to, whom he is referring to. Whereas let me tell you, the fertility rate, with the data which we have, Rahul, is very clear that the fertility rate of the Muslims has considerably gone down. I will show you the data which is not prepared by Waris Pathan at his home. This is the, according to report last year by PEW Research Center. Fertility rate among Muslims, the largest minority, is the highest among all major communities, but has been declining fast. It's now almost equal to that of Hindus, according to the report. Now, from 1992 to 2015, Muslim fertility rate declined from 4.4 to 2.6. For Hindus, it went down from 3.3 to 2.1. So why does he want that population control? Not only that, give me some few minutes, seconds down. In 2019, the Rajya Sabha member of parliament moved a private member's bill in the parliament seeking that there should be a population control law, population control bill. During that period, the minister, Mansukh Mandavia, stood up in the Rajya Sabha and he made a statement: there is no need for population control bill to be introduced as the population in the country is stable and we have got certain schemes which prevents the overwhelming population control. That, not only that, the Supreme Court, there was matter was pending where the Ministry of Health filed an affidavit before the Honorable Court saying that we don't require a population control law, population control bill. So this is clear before the nation. But they want to divide the country. Hatred is going on everywhere in the country. Mohan Bhagwat was trying to say that the population is increasing. If you are so much concerned, then you must speak about demographic dividend. If you take control of that, you provide employment to the youths, you will see that the difference is there. We will go beyond
here's
China,
the point that's being discussed. Outside of the politics, Waris Pathan, if some family is having 4 children, 5 children, 6 children, 7 children, it's not happening en masse, but in some cases it is. The question that even sensible people are asking is, should there be a cap to that? I think that's the question that's being asked. And what's wrong in having a cap? Let there be a reasonable cap. If somebody doesn't want that it be capped at 2, it could potentially even be capped at 3. But if somebody is having children, which then becomes difficult for our nation to deal with, which doesn't then remain a demographic dividend but could become a demographic disaster, you try and put a cap on that without being unreasonable. Mr.
But
Pathan?
for that, the government needs to have the policy. They must see, today the youth is not getting married, Rahul. The fact is that today's youth does not have money to provide for himself. When will he provide wives, children and everybody? So you should have a policy, you should increase the employment, give employment to the people, provide proper schemes, then only we can have control over this. But there is no need for a population control in the country, wherein the data is set. Why do they want? Even Modi has got 5 siblings, Yogi has got 7 of them. Earlier the CM of Bihar was having, Lalu Prasad was having so many children, he is having so many children.
No, but I'm not saying this about any one religion. I'm asking a general question. If there is a policy on population control, that policy, Poonam Muthreja, is not for any one community. Why can't there be, whether it is 2 or 3, a cap on the number of children a family can have, which doesn't deter, unlike China, which had only 1 and therefore created the number of problems that it did ultimately. Here it isn't restricting people who want to have, say, 2 or 3 children, but if you want to have way too many more than that, then it puts a firm cap on such plans. What's wrong with that?
So the reason is we don't need that, and the data shows that in India, people do not want to have more than 2 children. This is national data, NFHS data, SRS data, and the data, and then we have 10% unwanted fertility in India. Don't you think, Rahul, we should be focusing on giving family planning services to those who don't wish to have more children? That's one. And people don't wish to have 4, 5 children anymore. They can't afford it. Second, I want to say that India has a young population, Rahul, of 350 million people. And 40% of them are at a reproductive age. So our population is, whatever we do, even if you have a 2-child norm and a 2-child policy, even if these people have 1 or 2 children, and they're educated people don't have more than 2 children in any case, and education levels and literacy levels are increasing in India. So if you look at all that, We need to invest in family planning. We need to spend more money on spacing methods, which we only spend 4% of our meager family planning budget on spacing when we have such a large young population. So the point is that there is so much we can do to bring down, not only stabilize our population, but drastically bring down from the projections that have been made if we invest more in family planning.
So
if we
let's
go to
build
the
on that.
most
Manu Gaur,
backward
the
areas.
argument Poonam
So why
Mutreja
do we
makes
need a
is
two-child
we have
bill?
to identify the right solution. Family planning, education, awareness, empowerment. That's the
Yes.
way to go. By putting an artificial cap, it's not as if there are too many people wanting to have more than 2 children. By putting an artificial cap, that might seem like a politically expedient thing to do, but it may not produce the end result that you need.
No,
Rahul,
but,
only because of that kind of arguments, I want to explain. India was the first country in the world who launched first official family planning program. Yet it is now everyone knows that it is the nearly going to achieve the tag of most populous country of the world. Okay, and according to Poonam ji, who very well said that why we can not provide the basic contraceptives and other things to control the birth rate to the every household. I want to give you a data that from 1974, the government of India has spent nearly 3 lakh crore rupees of taxpayers' money on the family planning programs. The real-time value of that amount is nearly 30 lakh crore rupees. बिल्कुल गवर्नमेंट ऑफ इंडिया के एक साल के रेवेन्यू के बराबर. तो when we can provide electricity, water, gas chula to every household, then why we cannot provide the contraceptive facilities to every household?
No, sure we can. But S.Y. Qureshi, let's build on this argument. While having a, say, 2-child norm mandated by law doesn't disincentivize anybody from having children, you can still have children. It disincentivizes those who are putting undue pressure on the country's resources by producing 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 10 children. The number of people producing so many children is coming down, but why allow it at all? S.Y. Qureshi.
Yes. Let's start with the positive. We have been aspiring for, we have replaced already. And harsh is adopted planning. Therefore, all we need to do about do a little more of we education also adopt family planning. Only half population adopting family planning. When the other half say just so do a little.
Now, I don't hear you well, so I'm going to come back to you in just a moment. Meanwhile, Varis Pathan, instead of attacking the comment just because it was made by the RSS chief and you don't like his ideology, why not just allow for a meaningful conversation around what Bhagwatji is saying, instead of attacking him or looking for communal motives, even though in his comments he's not said anything about any religion. Look at the principle of what he's saying, and if the number of families producing more children is coming down, why not cap it? That surely cannot be something to be contested.
We are not attacking, we are saying he is playing dog whistle politics and is fear mongering in the name of population, which is not required. I agree with what Madam Poonam just now said, that it is not required. There are certain schemes which implement properly, then there's no question of population explosion, Rahul. Today the people are very well aware about the consequences of more children. That is why there are more and more people using contraceptives and trying to see that no babies are more born, because they cannot feed them. In fact, if the demographic dividend is to be considered, then they must look into that direction by providing proper jobs. Modi said we will provide 2 crore jobs. It won't happen. Where is it going? Where are the jobs? If an unemployed youth wants to get married, will he get married? If he cannot feed himself, how will he feed his wife and children? What about that? The Modi government, that is why they are diverting the mind of the nation from the main issues and taking them into the population. Why did they not say that, okay, in the Rajya Sabha, when the private members' bill was introduced, okay, we'll formulate a policy? Because it cannot. You cannot do this. You have to. China, you said just now, one child policy came and it was a disaster. It was not a successful policy at that time. But when the fertility rate has already come down, it's lowered in our country, then why is there need for getting this kind of population control bill? Mohan Bhagwat should have spoken about providing employment issue. He spoke about Nari Samman, where he forgot to speak about the Bilkis Banu's case, where these rapists are moving free outside the jail, whose place is in jail behind bars. They should have remained in behind bars. Other than that, they are moving in free air. When he speaks about Nari Samman, he should have spoken.
So there is nobody from the RSS to defend what the RSS chief said. So I don't want to make this political. You wanted to have a larger conversation on whether there should be a cap on the number of children families can have. You heard different points of view. I don't want to take a side. I leave it to you, our viewers, to decide where you stand on this.